Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing this evening? And by this evening, I mean 5:59 a.m. Oh my Lord. I went to bed last night at like 11 o'clock. It's 6 a.m. It just turned 6 a.m. Listening to a little jazz standard and classical 73 holiday traditions. I was listening to the New York Pops, Deck the Halls. Before that, it was Elvis Presley singing Silent Night. I went to bed last night at 11 o'clock. I was so cozy in bed with Alex and the dogs. He was watching The Real Housewives. Well, first he was watching Watch What Happens Live. And then he was, I think it was with all of the new wives from Salt Lake City. And then he was watching The Real Housewives of Orange County. I fell totally asleep. I was so comfortable in bed. And do you believe that, like, if you eat a little bit before you go to bed, that you have, like, nightmares? Do you know, like, the Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, where he's talking about, like, Marley, like, the ghost of Marley was, like, a little bit of old stew that he had early. I always wonder that, because whenever I eat late at night, right before I go to bed, I always have, like, the most horrific nightmares. And I had the worst nightmare tonight. It was so scary. And it was with Alex and my old roommate, the one that lives in Germany now, and I, which they've never even met. And I had watched this movie when we flew to Florida, and it was 31 by Rob Zombie. And it was this movie, like, I love Rob Zombie, scary movies, his horror movies, I love them. And I'd never seen this one before. There's like 2 or 3 that I've never seen of his. Something to do with Salem, I've never seen. And then this one I hadn't seen, which was this group of people that were like in this warehouse kind of thing. And it was so gruesome. It was very good if you like horror movies, but it was terrifying. And they like had to stay alive all night long. His wife was in it, actually. She was like one of the main characters. They had to stay alive for like 12 hours while these people tried to kill them. And so my nightmare tonight was kind of a mix of that and the strangers, because all these people that were like trying to kill us like had these really scary masks on. They were like, but they were different than like in the movie The Strangers. They were like big, like bunny rabbit masks, and they were like these big huge masks. Anyway, we were being like told what to do and where to go. This one part, I was with somebody else at the beginning of it, and we were like at the top of this like movie theater, like going down. It's so weird, I keep on having all these dreams about movie theaters. And we had to like make it down this aisle to get outside. And I like looked at her and I said, let's just run. And we like ran, and something like happened and just like I don't even like really want to say because it's so gruesome. It like took her head off like right away. I mean, I just like looked over and it was just like horrible. And they had like frozen we were like trying to get away, and they had like frozen our checking accounts, and we couldn't get cash. And like our credit cards they were tracking, and like we didn't know what to do. And when I woke up, like the 3 of us were standing in this house, and Alex was supposed to like meet with this guy, and I like didn't want him to go. And he was like talking to the guy on the phone, and he was like, well, we're gonna need so much time And the guy was like, and Alex was like trying to like get my old roommate and I to be able to go to breakfast so that we could get like away from the situation, and then he was gonna meet up with us later. And then this guy like came to the door and was like, no, there's no more time. And I was like, I don't even know how to explain it. The nightmare was just like so terrifying. So anyway, I don't know what that was about, but I woke up and I was kind of like, I woke up at about 4:30, and you can see I did my hair earlier, and now I slept on it right here, see? But it did look good earlier. Before I did my videos today, I was like, I usually just like throw on a hat and go get coffee, you know, and call it a day, and then take a shower later. But today I got up and I was like, I'm gonna like trim my beard, shave, do my hair and everything before, shower, do my hair and everything before I do videos today. So I did. But anyway, I woke up and I was like kind of scared to go out to my car. I know it sounds so weird, but do you ever like wake up and you're like, you've had like such, I mean, this nightmare was like horrible. It was like absolutely horrible. Like people were being killed all around us, and it was just really scary. Probably, I'm sitting here thinking it's probably because of a lot of these different, I've had so many conversations on the phone today. It's probably because of a lot of these conversations I was having, but who knows? Who knows? I feel like I talked to everybody in the world today. But I always have very vivid dreams and nightmares. I used to have night terrors for a long time. If you don't know what night terrors are, it's like where you literally like, you sweat so much you just like soak the bed, and it's like beyond a nightmare. And I had them for years and years and years. And like I had them when Alex and I got together, and then they went away. And I had them, I mean, literally for probably like, I don't even know how long. Like I had them off and on since I was like a kid into like my adulthood, and then they just kind of stopped when I got with Alex at one point. And I would like wake him up, and he would be like, you were moaning in your sleep, and it would be like this like guttural moan, he said, that I'd be like, and then like I would like just the whole side of my bed from like head to toe would be like soaked. And so anyway, that person is just standing out there looking at the street by the post office. That was weird. So anyway, I got up and I came downstairs, and I was doing some gratitude work in my gratitude journal, and some of my stuff in the book Magic that I'm doing with my Peterisms channel. I cannot believe that today was day 8, that we've been through 8 days of exercises so far. It seems crazy to me that we're like almost, you know, through a third of the book. It seems unreal, and I'm absolutely loving it. And I got a fountain pop with Tanya earlier. One of the things that we were supposed to do is like savor like each taste of each thing that you have. Let me savor my Diet Pepsi here. Delicious. I also have water with me. I've been like looking online at like all different kinds of like websites to buy like different unique gifts for people for Christmas. I found this website actually, and it's like the U.S. like parks, I think it's like Western Parks, something. And you can get on there and you can get like t-shirts and hoodies and stuff that say like the Badlands or like Yosemite. They're actually really expensive. But then they have like these gift boxes that you can give people that have like a candle, and like a certain amount of the proceeds go to like the park system and like saving the park system, which I think is really cool. Caroline loves stuff like that. And she loves stuff that has like a cause. But I think I actually know what I'm going to get Caroline. I'd already thought about it. I know what I'm going to get Sarah. I actually bought my mother-in-law something today, but it's not going to be a Christmas gift. I was kind of like looking around and stuff, and I was like, you know, like I just buy so much crap, it seems like. I got kind of away from that for a while. I don't buy so much crap. Like you know, not compared to what I used to, where I was going to Walmart 3 and 4 nights a week and spending so much money. I don't do that. But I buy stuff online a lot, it seems like. And I was like looking at stuff, and I was like, you know, because I'll see something and I'll think, like, this would be a great gift for Sarah, or this would be a great... Do you ever have people in your life that are like easier to buy for than others? Like, you always just like, I look at all these gifts and I think like, this would be great for so-and-so, and this would be great for so-and-so, and this would be great for so-and-so. But like, then there are other people that are really difficult to buy for. I did figure out what I'm getting Alex for Christmas today though. And I'm really excited about it. And he is not going to expect it. So excited about that. But I was sitting there and I was like looking through this stuff, and I was like, you know, why do I have to wait for like a birthday or a holiday? Like, I don't know why this just occurred to me. This is not like, I mean, there are a lot of people out there that are like this. I was like, you know, whenever I see something like this that I think would be a good gift for so-and-so, like, I should just buy it for them. I mean, none of this stuff that I'm looking at is that expensive. It's like 10 or 20 bucks, you know? And I'm like, well, I mean, the park stuff, but like, that was like specifically like Christmas stuff. But I was like, you know, a candle or something like that, or, you know, a notebook. And I was like, I should just buy it for somebody and be like, okay, like, and get it. Because I was like, I got something for my mother-in-law, and I was really excited about getting it for her because I know that she's going to really like this. And it's not a Christmas gift, you know, at all. But I was just like, I think that would make me happy to start just buying people little gifts from now and then. Because I look at stuff, I feel like lately, well, so I got online and I was actually looking at the Hazelden. So Hazelden is the treatment program in Minnesota. And for a long time, they were kind of like the hub of recovery in the country. And so they have Hazelden Publishing, which publishes a lot of recovery material, recovery literature, like, well, all kinds of stuff. If you get on the Hazelden.com website, because I was just on it, I just looked, you look at their website for like books, they have workbooks, they have tons of meditation books. Actually, their meditation books are like segmented out into like for men, for women, for this, for that, for couples. I don't think they had them for couples, I don't think. I don't know. But anyway, the thing is, I own most of them. Like, I thought I would get on there and they would have like all these new ones, but they don't. Because I was going to order some meditation books for 2021 because I've been reading the same meditation books. And I think the problem is that, I mean, I probably, in all honesty, own 20 to 30 meditation books that I read on my Peterson's channel, but like personally, I own like 20 to 30 meditation books, right? I have to tell you, like, and I know that people are like, she's anti-gay and all this kind of stuff, and I know that she is, but one of my favorite meditation books I actually got from, and a lot of people in recovery like her, I got from I got it from Meijer, the grocery store, whatever, superstore, one night when Tanya and I were there, was that Joyce, she's that religious minister, speaker. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? She's like, one day I was in the kitchen and I was smoking a cigarette talking to Jesus. And Jesus said to me, Joyce, you know, you better think about quit smoking those cigarettes. And so I thought, well, this is a temptation straight from God. You know, I'm talking about that one. What's her name? I can't think. But anyway, her meditations are like fantastic. But like, I don't have a problem with biblical stuff. Like, it doesn't mean anything to me, but like, I can read around, because I'm not a religious person, I'm a spiritual person, but I can read around it, if that makes sense. Years and years and years ago, somebody that I knew, like when it first, like I would say the first 2 to 3 years it came out. Do you guys remember the book Purpose Driven Life? It's really a powerful book. Although, I have to tell you what's kind of funny is, I only made it through like, I think it's chapter 26, because I used to tell this story, and chapter 26, speaking of temptation, is about temptation. So, a Purpose Driven Life is like, it's kind of actually like what I'm doing with the magic book, but it is really biblically based. And, it's like 28 or 30 days or 40 days or something like that of taking a look at your life from like a spiritual point of view. And then the guy that wrote it ended up being like, I think like when, I can't think of his name, but like when Clinton was elected president, he gave like this spiritual speech or something like that, or whatever that's called. But anyway, this person that I knew was like, if I get you a copy, because I joked about it a lot, was like, and they were reading it through, this is a person I knew through sobriety, was like, reading it through with their church, doing like the workbook with their church. And they said like, if I get you a copy, will you do it? Because it like changed this person so much. And I was like, they ended up going and doing missionary work like in other parts of the world, not just because of this book, but. And I was like, if you get me a copy, I will do it. So they got me a copy, and I started it. And I was really like, at first, I was like, ooh, this is like a lot of quotes, and this is, do you guys know who I'm talking about with Joyce? I want to say her name. Whenever I mention her in videos, people are always like, Peter, like, yeah, I understand that her belief system does not align with mine, but you know, I think sometimes, hold on a second. Joyce Meyer. Yeah, I think she's like anti-gay or something, I don't know, and just real whatever. But, you know, here, let me tell you my attitude about that with people. People are always like, well, why do you like this person? Because yada, 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 or you're nice to this person because of, or you're open to their readings or whatever. Like, I wouldn't want somebody to cut me off completely just because they didn't align, because their belief system didn't align with mine. Now, that doesn't mean that I have to believe in what they believe in. It doesn't mean that I have to be coerced into what they believe in. I don't have to agree with what they believe in. But what has happened that we can't, like, meet people as human beings face to face and hear what they have to say? So with, like, Joyce Meyer, like, for me, well, this is where I was getting to at the Purpose Driven Life. At one point, I had to just read it, and just for me, like I said, I don't have a problem with the biblical stuff, but it doesn't mean anything to me. So, like, if it's a quote from the Bible, like, that doesn't resonate with me. Like, it doesn't really mean anything to me. So, I just, like, read past it, if that makes sense. But the rest of the reading was, and the writing and the Purpose Driven Life was really powerful. For example, okay, years and years ago, I started that Left Behind series. Have you guys ever read those books? I read that first Left Behind book and could not put it down. It's by like Jenkins and somebody else. It's by two guys. I literally could not put those Left Behind series down. I was like obsessed. I can remember Tanya laughing at me because it's all I would talk about. If you don't know what the Left Behind series is, it's about the apocalypse, basically. If they fictionalize the apocalypse. And so all of a sudden, like, all of these people just vanish from the planet Earth. Like, planes go down, and like, it's just, and so it's mostly about this dad and his daughter, and they don't really understand why, like, the wife and the mom, the wife/mom and the other son, like the son, like, they vanished, like, why they were, like, supposedly good Christians and they weren't, or believers or whatever. But it gets very, very religious. This guy, like, is like wanting to take over like world domination. It's very interesting though, like if you have any interest in like Revelations and the apocalypse and things like that, because it really like fictionalizes it and makes it like, brings it kind of down to like layman's terms. And so like, even though like I'm not like what's the word I'm looking for, theological student, I am, like, that does interest me on some level, like the historical aspects of like Revelations and Apocalypse. I got so into those books, but the thing is about those books is like the more you read them, the more religious they get. Like, and there was literally like just pages and pages and pages of like not spiritual but religious like just like dissertation, like almost just taken directly out of the Bible, some parts of it. And I would just have to like pass over all of it. But I still read the books because I enjoyed them. I think I read the whole series, like except for like maybe the last one or two. And that's kind of how I am with that Joyce Meyer book. But you know, like I hardly ever go to it. But whenever I do read it, I'm always like, oh, this is totally what I needed to hear today. She kind of cracks me up. But so yeah, I have like 20 or 30 meditation books that I have acquired through the years. Some of them were my mom's. A lot of those I bought for her. And I guess, you know, like, I mean, in my life, I've come across some religious folk that are hurtful to me. Like, for example, like the Westboro Baptist Church and all that stuff. They're not that present today. I remember back in the day, like, if you posted a video talking about anything to do with, like, being gay, like, they would, like, come and literally just, like, fill the comment sections. Well, I think Fred Phelps passed away and his daughter took over. I remember seeing some documentary, like, probably 10 years ago now, about all of that. But, you know, like, I don't know, I think I learned it from my mom, like, because my mom was somebody that was of such strong faith, and my mom's religiosity never dictated, like, an anti-gay sentiment. Like, she didn't believe that, like, God or, like, Jesus, like, hated gay people. Like, she didn't believe that, and I think that, I don't know, I think, like, I've had a lot of friends of mine that have had really horrible experiences with church and religiosity, but that was not my experience. I can't speak to that. I grew up going to a very good church. Other than being bored off my butt, I only had positive experiences with going to church. I just didn't get anything out of it. I didn't internalize it. Like, I didn't internalize any kind of spiritual axiom as a result of going to church. It's just not for me, you know, like, and I was even talking to a friend of mine tonight, and she was like, yeah, I miss going to church. Like, I really want to start going to church. I said, you should find a church. And she's like, you think so? And I was like, yeah, if you miss it, you should find it. And just because it's not for me doesn't mean that it's not for somebody else and I can't support them in that, right? Like, I'm not real good with religiosity that condemns me and says that I'm this horrible sinner of the world because, you know, just because of things like I'm gay or I'm an addict and alcoholic. Like, I don't get down with all of that, right? But if it's a supportive spiritual belief system, then why can't I meet that person face to face as a human being and say, okay, this is what you believe, this is what I believe, let's, you know, and even if that person to some degree says, well, I think, like, do you know, it's interesting because, okay, so I have a friend of mine has family members that are, like, very, very evangelical, and like, even Tanya she was, like, raised Pentecostal, you know, so her stories are interesting to me, like, being raised. But I have a friend of mine that is, like, their family is very evangelical. And, you know, she'll tell me these stories, and I'm like, and I'll say, yeah, but have you ever seen this, this, and this, right? And she'll be like, I never thought of it that way. And so, like, it's interesting because, like, she has family members that are very, like, anti-gay and whatever, and she'll be like, Peter always takes your side, and it's like, have you ever seen it from their point of view? Like, you never really truly know somebody, like Atticus Finch said, until you walk around in their shoes for a moment. Like, I believe that most people, I really do believe this, that most people come from a point of goodness and love and fear. I think that's the other thing, you know, like, my mom taught me that. My mom taught me that, you know, because I had this falling out with a friend of mine. She got super, super religious. I'm telling you, this girl, she had birthday parties hosted by drag queens. She was super well known in the gay community of Indianapolis. She was out all the time. All of her guy friends were gay. I do think at some point she felt like it was kind of holding her back a little bit, maybe. Like from meeting somebody. She's married today and has kids and stuff like that. But so she started going to this church, and I remember, this was like the hypocrisy of it to me, like she and my friends started going to this church literally just to meet guys, and then they got involved in the choir, and then they got involved in the Bible study, and then they were going to church like 4 days a week, and they were super involved with this church. And I remember, you guys, this is literally the Halloween, it's been 20 years, it was 20 years ago, because it was the Halloween before we turned the year 2000. And I was house sitting for my dad, and she and I had this conversation on the phone. And I remember she said, we got in this long conversation about sinning, and she was telling me that she thought that, and hey, what you believe is what you believe, right? But she was like, you know, being gay is a sin, and I was like, do you really believe that? I was like, because my God doesn't make junk, you know, like, and I don't believe that. I just don't believe that God made me. I mean, like, this is what's so, I mean, today I wouldn't pick a different life. I wouldn't. But, like, I went through so much difficulty being gay. Like, I was made fun of horrifically. I was, like, watching that Sandra Bernhard, when she was joking about, he said, did you go to your high school reunion? And she goes, no. And he goes, why not? And she goes, they treated me worse than Carrie. I mean, they treated me worse than Carrie. Like, I mean, my growing up experience was horrific. You know? To then always never feel like I fit in my own skin. And, you know, like, if you have a crush on somebody, well, you don't know if they're gay or not, you know? And it's like, and then having to come out to people, you know, like, heterosexual people don't have to come out to people and explain to them. I mean, it's one thing after another after another. Like, why would you not pick an easier, softer way? Like, if you could, right? So, the whole idea that we pick this supposed sordid life is just baffling to me, that people would even think that. Like, what? Like, that doesn't even make any sense that anybody would ever think that. I can remember being in, like, when I started realizing I was gay, I can remember thinking to myself, I'm gonna have to get married and have kids and just keep this a secret all my life. Like, I'm just not gonna ever be able, like, you know, just never tell anybody, because I was, like, so scared and ashamed and stuff. So here I am talking to my friend, you know, that's literally been on stage at a drag show in a bar, and drag queens are giving her a not only that, but nationally crowned female impersonators that had won national pageants are giving her a cake on a stage for her 22nd birthday, and now it's just, and all of her friends are gay. Okay, I was telling a story and I said somebody's name. I was telling two different kind of stories, but we did have a friend of ours that that took his life, and I think that really affected her. I think she really thought that a lot of it was because he was gay, which I don't know if I really believe that or not. I think it probably, I just don't remember he and I ever talking about, like, him having any, like, huge issues with it. I don't know, but she believed that to be true. And, to some degree. So anyway, flash forward, she and I are talking on the phone. And it was just like, it was the weirdest thing. It's like, do you ever, like, you have somebody in your life and it's like you're having conversation, like you have a conversation with them every day, like, you know, just normal conversations, right? And then one day you're having a conversation with them and you're like, I don't even know this person. Like, I don't even know this person at all, right? So I'm talking to her. This is like one of my diehard best friends ever in my life. And she said to me something about being gay being a sin. And I go, well, do you really believe that? And she was like, yes, I really do. Now, mind you, okay, at the time, you know, I'm not like, I was, what, 28 years old? So I said to her, you really, really believe that? And she goes, yeah. And she goes, I can't even believe that. I can't even believe she said this to me. And I was like, even continue the conversation. She goes, I mean, it's not as bad as murder, but it's worse than, and I don't want to say the word on here. And I was like, it's a 4-letter word. And I was like, are you kidding me? And she goes, yeah, I really believe that. I said, you really, really, like, at your core, you believe that. Like, this is somebody I have been friends with, like, my whole life, right? She was like, yeah. She was like, you know, like, this is what it teaches, that the Bible teaches us and whatever. And I was like, that is not, that, no, I don't. You're taking it to work the way that you want it to. And that's, I feel like, manipulative. No, that's what it says, and blah, 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 whatever. So we're talking, and she said, but I still love you. And even though you're a sinner, I said, a sinner that's, hold on a second, not as bad as murder, but worse than this other horrible thing. And she said, yes, even though I still would allow you in my home, and I would still, and I still, you know, care about you and love you and pray for you because you're a sinner. And I said, and I don't know what happened in that moment to me, but I was like, well, you know what? That's great, but I would no longer feel comfortable having you in my home. And I said, and I need to get off this phone because I'm feeling some kind of way that I don't. She's like, well, I didn't really mean to upset you. Like, I'm really sorry. Like, blah, 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 blah. Like, you know, like I said, I still love you. And I was like, you just literally called me, like, one of the worst sinners in the world for just existing. Like, what? And I remember talking to my mom, you know, after that. I was so upset. I literally probably hung up the phone and called my mom. And I was so upset about it. And you know, my mom was always a woman of very strong faith. She chose to go to church on her own when she was growing up. She went to an Episcopalian church in Indianapolis, which was incidentally the first church in Indianapolis to marry gay couples or LGBT couples. And she, you know, then when she married my dad, she converted to being a Lutheran, and she always was very attracted to Catholicism. She wanted to be a Catholic at one point because she thought about converting because she loved just the pure quality of Catholicism. And she said, I can remember I called her and I talked to her about her, and she said, Peter, a lot of people hide behind religion because they're scared of the world. And, you know, like, in that moment, I got it. Like, I totally understood it, you know? Because I had used things to hide behind before. You know, I had used drugs and alcohol to hide. And I think on some level, drugs and alcohol are a spiritual experience. I think that we're looking for, you know? Like, I think we want some kind of, like, spiritual experience, and drugs and alcohol, like, offer that for us. I don't know. She and I were never the same again. Makes me kind of sad. And then, I think what kind of makes me sad about it is later she, I swear there was a car behind me. Did it just swerve and like go? Anyway, she stopped going to church. Like after like she got married and stuff, they like slowly stopped going to church and stopped being involved in that church. And the last time she and I talk every once in a while now, but like the last time I talked to her, she was like, yeah, we're not involved in that church at all. We had a real falling out with that church. And I thought, isn't that interesting? Like you had a falling out with this church that told you to think a certain way and you believed that, and that affected relationships in your life. And that's why today, to me, like I'm not necessarily like super, like I don't consider myself a religious person, because I do believe that there is a God out there, and I do believe that God made me and loves me and cares about me, and I believe that my God does not make junk, and I don't believe that I'm junk. And so when people are like, oh, well, this, and this, I'm like, well, that's fine that you believe in that, but that's not what I believe in. And I don't argue with people today about it. I don't think there's really any point. I think, it's interesting because, like, I compare it kind of to, like, when I met my mother-in-law, so when I started, speaking of my mother-in-law that I bought a little present for, when I met Alex, I was 36 and he was 24. And she really hadn't, I don't think, met, like he had a boyfriend before, but I don't think, like, he wasn't, like, involved in Alex's life, like, the way that I'm involved in his life. Like, he didn't, like, come to family stuff. Like, she had met him, I think, like, once, maybe, or twice. She knew his name and things like that. But that was, like, Alex's, like, college boyfriend. So, when she, like, Alex, like, really kind of, like, pushed me on the family. Like, we actually didn't, like, we started dating at the end of August, and then we didn't really, like, meet each other's families until, like, I remember the first time I ever met his mom was at a Halloween party, actually. And he was like, go dance with my mom. And I was like, I don't want to go dance with your mom. And I was like, it was like a neighborhood Halloween party. And she was a pirate. I can totally see it in my head. And I was like, no, I don't want to go dance with your mom. I don't know your mom. This is very uncomfortable to me. I'm, like, very careful with stuff like that. And he was like, no, go dance with my mom. She'll think it's funny. She'll like it and whatever. And I'm not, like, I've never liked to, like, force situations. And I was very aware that she was going to be like, like, who is this guy that's, like, older, coming into, like, my son's life and whatever. And so I really wanted her to get to know me as a human being. And then when she got to know me, I was hoping that she would think, Peter's not such a bad guy, and, like, he seems really nice, and he's got a head on his shoulders, and, he's sober, and he takes life seriously, and he's a good person, and so his intentions, towards Alex are, towards my son are, like, positive, and I think that is what happened. I think she did see me as, she could see me as a human being that really, like, I think that is what happened. I mean, she's a great person, so I think she could really see that, and that's kind of how I am with when I meet people that, like, our religious belief systems are completely different, unless they're condemning of me, and then I just really don't have any time for that, to be honest with you. Like, at this point, to be honest, like, this is horrible to say, but at 48 years old, like, the sky is so beautiful this morning. It is, like, I don't know if you can see it, but it's so beautiful. But what I meant about meeting somebody, like, human being, right? Like, Like if I'm at a dinner party or something like that and I meet somebody and we're sitting there talking and I can tell that their belief system is different than mine, like I don't have to like cause a scene. That's what I'm saying, right? But at 48 years old, like I don't have friends or people in my life that condemn me for who I am. Like, okay, if you think that I am the worst sinner in the entire world, then you probably need to go live your life over here and I need to live my life over here. You know what I mean? Like I don't have time for that today in my life. I don't have people that bring in toxicity and chaos and negativity in my life today. I just don't. And quite frankly, to anybody out there watching, no matter what age you are, figure out real quick to rid your life of the negativity, toxicity, and chaos. I don't have time for it today in my life. I just don't. People that want to bring that crap into my life are gone like that. I do not have time with it, or I will put it in its place. I just don't. People want to know why they're distanced from me in my life. I have no problem having that conversation with them. I was a very toxic, negative person for a long time, and I take ownership over that, and I have changed and worked on that, and that was my job to do, and it's other people's job to fix theirs, but I don't need to have it in my life. Like, that is emotionally taxing when you have somebody that is toxic that will not work on their crap. Like, I have no time for it. And, so I just don't have it in my life today, you know, and it's, you know, the other thing is that, like, I spent so much of my life, like, I don't know if this will make any sense. I did not expect to go in this direction on the vlog tonight, but I spent so much of my life, I feel like, educating other people, and I mean, I will continue to do that, but, like, I don't mean educating other people like actually being in a classroom. I mean educating other people about you know, like what it is to be gay and all that kind of stuff. And I've had to face all the ignorant questions for my entire life. I mean, if I get asked one more time, are you a top or are you a bottom? Like, I think that is one of the most offensive questions ever. And to be honest with you, like, if it's a gay guy that asks you, what it means is that they're sexually fantasizing about you. That's just the reality, okay? And if it's not, then why do you care? Like that doesn't make any sense to me why anybody would ask that question. You would not ask your mom or dad or somebody that you met at a dinner party or a coworker. I mean, I've had coworkers ask me that question before. Now, can I ask you something personal? And whenever they say that, I always know where this is going. Yeah, and then they say, are you the pitcher or the catcher? Like, seriously? How about me ask you some personal sexual questions about you and your husband? Number one, I don't want to visualize that, okay? Number two, that is obscene to be asking somebody questions like that. Where were you raised? In a cave? Like, why are you asking somebody? And I'm at the point, to be honest with you, that when people start asking those questions, I just answer them now. Because I'm like, you want to know so bad? I'm going to tell you, okay? And then you can go home and you can visualize whatever you want to visualize. You know, or it's like, when people, I mean, can you even imagine, like, I don't know, it's there's just so, people to me sometimes, like, I don't know, I feel like the older I get, maybe I am kind of prudish, or maybe more traditional than I thought, you know, because I just, like, people sometimes kill me with stuff, but, like, it's not my job to, like, educate people and say, now, that's not a question that we ask, okay? Like, you don't want to go up to your boss and say, now, I know you have a boyfriend, are you a catcher, or, like, why is it my job to educate somebody with that, okay? You're grown. You don't know that it is inappropriate to ask somebody what they do in the bedroom? Like, come on now. I give it your good Judy, it's your best friend. My best friend, Tanya Jean, and I have been friends for 24 years. And other than us talking about, oh, like, what did you do last night? I made love with my husband. We don't need to have any conversation past that. I don't know what she's done in her bedroom with her husband. She doesn't know what I've done in the bedroom with my husband or past exes, okay? We don't talk about that. There's no reason to talk about that. She's my best friend. 24 years. We've never had the need to have that conversation. I don't understand that. I really don't. It's baffling to me. And I can't tell you how many times I've had to have conversation with somebody where I'm like, you know, it's not real appropriate. If you want to really know, like, tell me why you want to know and I'll explain it to you. But, like, it's not appropriate to ask that question. And people look at me like, deer caught in the headlights, and they're like, it's not? No, it's not appropriate to ask somebody what they do in their bedroom, straight or gay. Like, come on now, you know what I mean? It's like the same thing with money. It's like, I don't know. I was raised you don't talk to people about their money. Like, you don't ask people how much they make a year. You don't ask people how much this cost or that cost. I mean, I was raised that way. And I feel like people today, they're like, how much is your house? How much do you make a year? How much? I'm like, geez, Louise, like, back up. Ask me what book I just read. Ask me my favorite movie. Ask me if I have a favorite color. Ask me about my cozy mysteries. Ask me about, like, how I want to decorate my house. Ask me, like, my favorite memory of my mom. Ask me my favorite memory of my dad or my, in-laws or whatever. But my God, like how much money I make and if I'm a top or a bottom, like, what is wrong with people? Like, why is that what you're interested in, It's like crazy to me. And the really funny thing about that is that I think we think that sometimes those questions really define somebody, right? But let's just be for real, they don't. Like, those questions don't define somebody at all. I don't feel like those questions, if you guys knew the answers to them, would let you in any more about who I am as a person. You know what I mean? I don't know, it cracks me up. I talked to one of my oldest friends today. Did I say that already on here? I don't know if I had or not. I said it, I think, on my review channel because I just gotten off the phone with him. So I was talking to my other friend from high school because, okay, this is kind of a funny story. So she and I were best friends our senior year in high school. Like, she and I were like, it was like 3 of us. My senior year in high school, 3 or 4 of us. My senior year in high school, well, she and I and another girl were really good friends, and then I was friends with another girl, and like the 4 of us hung out together, but she wasn't that good of friends with the 4th girl, who is my friend that lives in Portland, Oregon. But anyway, so she and I actually live like 5 blocks apart, and we never see each other, which is crazy. I was talking about this on here the other night. So I had texted her, and then we ended up talking the other night, and we caught up. So I was talking to her, and she was telling me about my friend. Now, this is my oldest, longest, dearest gay guy friend, who we went on a date when I was like 19. I was joking with him today. I said, girl, we should have just kept that date at Pepe's. He was like, I knew you were going to say that. I said, we should have just said, you know what? We need to just keep on going. So anyway, but I was talking to her. He's like my oldest gay guy friend. We went on like 1 date together, and we were like, okay, we need to just be friends. Like, we are much better at being friends than dating, and we have been friends for, well, I mean, almost 30 years, and 30 years this year, and one of my diehard friends, but came to my wedding and everything, and a couple years ago, he moved, and we just kind of lost track. Like, not really, like, we followed each other, like, on social media and stuff like that, but, like, we kind of just, like, lost track of each other, and I knew where he was, and he knew where I was, but, like, before that, we would, like, he's lived everywhere. He lived out in California, and then he lived in New York, and then he moved back here, and went to medical school, and so, anyway, he just went through kind of a transition, and he and I actually had a little bit of a falling out over kind of a misunderstanding that just, it was kind of sad situation because, anyway, I didn't go to his wedding, and, there were a lot of reasons why I didn't go to his wedding at the time. It had nothing to do with, like, him getting married or who he was married to or anything like that. It was just like timing stuff. And at the time, I couldn't go, and he was not happy about it. And so I didn't go to the wedding. Well, we kept on talking after that. He acted like everything was fine, You know, like I had called him and I sent a present and was, you know, Alex and I couldn't go. It was like timing kind of stuff. And and I felt bad because he had been at my wedding and it was like my oldest friend and blah, 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 blah. And I thought everything was fine. Well, it wasn't fine. And I didn't realize that. And so I think he got married about 5 or 6 years ago. So we kept on talking, you know, like once a month for the next couple years. And then one day he just was like, you know, like, it really hurt me, and basically told me, and I was like, man, I am sorry, like, you know, what can I do to make it up? And what I didn't know at the time was that he was just going through like a really, really hard time in his life, and he was like, there's nothing you can do, basically. I was like, oh, okay. And so then we just kind of like, at that point we said we would like, you know, kind of like catch up in like another month or two. Well, a month or two went by and I was kind of nervous to call. And it was funny because I was telling Tanya this tonight and she said, good reason to not let too much time go by when you try to catch up with somebody. So a couple months went by, a couple more months go by, and all of a sudden it's been a year. And then I noticed that he had come home for Christmas to visit and he didn't call. My feelings were hurt. But rightfully so, you know, we hadn't talked in like a year. And it just like that just happened. And then, I don't know, I talked to another friend of ours, my friend that lives in Denver, and he was like, oh, he doesn't say, like, everything's fine. Like, why are you acting like anything's not right, you know? And so I thought, well, everything's fine, but I didn't really know how to like bridge that gap of having that conversation again. Which I have like in the last, like this week, I don't know if this is a result of the magic book and me talking about relationships in there and stuff, but I have started to repair relationships in the last week in a weird way. Like, it's weird how opportunities for spiritual growth within relationships is starting to happen. So anyway, when I was talking to my other friend, she happened to mention to me on the phone, I was talking about this situation. Oh, because, so, when I was 19 and went on the date with him, she and I were best friends. She, like, met him and knew him. Well, she and her husband had, like, she had reconnected with him after all these years. They had gone on, like, a cruise together and done stuff, and I knew that. So I was, like, asking her how he was and whatever, and I said, you know, the whole situation makes me really sad. Like, it's totally my responsibility. It was totally my fault. I totally understand why he's upset about it. Like, you know, to this day, but, like, I just wish there was something I could do to fix it. Like, but, you know, I get it. Like, I understand, like, that he was upset with me, and rightfully so. Like, I get it, you know? And I said, I'm really happy that he's happy in this marriage. He seems so happy every time I, you know, see him post anything or whatever. And she was like, well, they got divorced this year. And I was like, what? And she's like, yeah, they got divorced. She wouldn't really tell me much about it. So I said, do you care if I reach out to him and tell him that you and I were talking and that you told me that? She's like, no, I don't care. So I reached out to him, and horrible. I have not cried for a friend of mine in a long time. And, but anyway, it was so weird. And then we talked for like over an hour on the phone today, catching up. And at the end, I said, because we didn't really say anything about like what had happened between us. And at the end, I said, I just want you to know how much I love you and how sorry I am that I wasn't there for you. And, because I didn't know, and I was scared that you didn't want to talk to me anymore, and I'm so sorry for, you know, not coming to your wedding and everything. And he said, listen, I'm going to stop you right there. And he said, you have been one of the best friends I've ever had in my entire life. He said, I love you. And he said, I'm so happy for you and Alex and everything that's going great in your life. And he said, we are good. he said, I want to make sure we stay in contact and we don't lose, he goes, I don't even know what was going on with me at that point in my life. He goes, I was not in a great place. And he said, I don't want you to worry about it. And we just completely resolved everything. And it was so nice. I got off the phone and I just was I've missed him for 3 years. He's one of my dearest friends. I don't have a lot of gay guy friends. I just don't, and he's dating somebody new and he's very happy. And I'm just really happy for him. It just was and then I talked to my cousin Caroline right after that, and she knows him, and it just was a good day. It was a really, really good day of, I was where am I at? How long have I been talking? It was a really good day of just catching up and talking to people on the phone, and then, did my magic book and gratitude stuff and made videos. And then tonight I have my literature group, and it was so powerful. It was we talked about spirituality tonight, and it was basically we were talking a lot about surrendering to our higher power and removing ourselves from selfishness. And I was telling the story about my mom when my mom passed away. And I hadn't told that story in a long time. When my mom so when she was taken off life support, actually this friend of mine that I was telling you about, that I was talking to, he was there because I wanted somebody that I didn't want to ask my dad because it's just, and so I asked him to be there because I wanted somebody medically to be in the room. And then okay, I had to go back and stop it because I said some people's names. I don't know, anyway. So in the room was my friend that I was talking to today, and he was there because I just bawled for 5 minutes, you guys, but I'm gonna have to go back and edit that part out because I just said some names and I'm just wasn't even thinking when I was saying it, and I don't know. So anyway, but my friend that I talked to today, he was in the room because he's a doctor, and I wanted to make sure that there were people in the room, there was somebody in the room that knew, I just didn't want I didn't want my mom in pain in any way, whatsoever. And which is in retrospect ridiculous. I mean, it was ridiculous because I mean, I don't know what they would have done, you know what I mean? She was they took her off life support. So but that was how I thought, and then I had a good friend of mine, sober friend of mine, and then some family friends, this couple, my aunt and uncle, and then another woman that was friends with my mom and I. And everybody was tell her it's okay to go, tell her it's okay to go. And this is where I got crying just a second ago. And I was Mom, I told her 3 times, and people were I remember at one point, I came around the side of the bed, and somebody was they had already said it. They were it's okay, tell her it's okay to go. And I said, I told her 3 times. I got kind of a little that is so hard. You want to talk about never being prepared for something that is really some hard crap, right? And then standing there, and I always talk about what a privilege it is to be part of somebody's passing, which it truly, truly is. But to be standing next to somebody and tell them that it is okay to go, like, is one of the most difficult things I have ever been through in my entire life. Because you don't want them to go. Because you know that as soon as they do, you're going to, like, lose this person forever, right? But you don't want them to suffer anymore. So I came around to the other side of the bed. At that point, I was, like, standing kind of by the door. And I said to my friend, who people always said she looked like my mom anyway when my mom was younger. At the funeral, it was so weird. People were like, they thought she was like my mom's like niece or something because like she looked so, they were like, you look so much like her when she was younger. Just so crazy. But anyway, my friend has real long blonde hair. So I said to my friend, I said, will you say the Serenity Prayer, like, over her? And my friend was like, out loud? And I said, yeah, out loud. And the Serenity Prayer is, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. And I don't know, it was just like the first thing I thought of. And then I looked at, she started, and I said, wait, stop. And I said, will you say the third step prayer over her? And, which was part of what we talked about tonight. And the third step prayer is about, relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. And it's about selflessness, and it's about surrender, and it's about removal of, like, bodily, physical desire and obsession and selfishness to complete selflessness. So my friend is saying the prayer out loud and holding my mom's hand, and like, and I look, and like, she's standing there like this, and she's crying, and one tear like drops and hits my mom's hand. She finishes saying the prayer out loud, and my mom flatlines like that. The battery's about to die. I couldn't believe it. I mean, completely. Just like, she gets done with the prayer, and it's just flatlines. Flash forward that night when my other friend and I went, was it that night or was it the next night? We went to my mom's house, I don't know, to get her Bible and her 12-step main text. The only part in that chapter that she had highlighted was the third step prayer. And I always think, you know, like, that meant something to my mom. Like, you know, like, that relieve me of the bondage of self. I think that was, like, maybe, like, she knew, like, I can let go now, you know? I don't know. And that's really what that means to me, is letting go and surrendering, you know? Spiritually, letting go and surrendering. So anyway, you guys, it is 7:06. I've been talking for an hour. My battery is dead. And I'm going to get off here now. I've drained myself emotionally for this day to come, and yet I am wide awake. So I'm going to listen to a little of my audio cozy mystery, and at least the sun is up now, so I'm not scared for my nightmares. I'll listen to a little bit of my cozy mystery, maybe get something, a little breakfast somewhere, and yeah, start your day with a best part of waking up is lip gloss on your lips. Anyway, I'm going to make this super short tonight. I hope you guys are having a fantastic Tuesday. I hope you're having an amazing Tuesday. Do something that'll make yourself proud today. You can start your day over whenever you want. Most importantly, make sure that you reach out to somebody, let them know how much they mean to you. Like I also always say, practice random acts of kindness, but like I also always say, don't tell anyone. Always lead with love. Like what it says in the four agreements, always lead with love. Let's put some goodness, kindness, forgiveness, happiness out there in the world today. Compassion. And if nobody else has told you this today, I love you. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I love you guys so much, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye. Love ya.